Super Bowl revenge day, okay? Big day today. Big weekend for the team, though. A lot of props hit. Good weekend for the crew. We're hoping to bring that into today. A lot to go over. Of course, Q&A. Jake, John, everyone's in the chat. Derek's in the chat as well. So we'll hit some of our early line movement for NFL and a lot of college action to go after that. So before we do that, bring in Steven and Jake here. Now we're going to talk a little bit about Monday football. I'd like to preface that this is just the data talking and not my own opinion before we get into this. But overall, Steven, what are you seeing so far for tonight's game?
Yeah, the model is leaning Kansas City. And again, Mackenzie, it's not a bad thing because you know, it's good for business or it's good for you win either way, right? But so Kansas City's passing game is obviously inconsistent right now with troubles at wide receiver, but they are averaging 26 at home, which is actually better than what they averaged last year in their Super Bowl season. But the flip side, the Eagles' pass defense is allowing 82 more yards a game and 0.6 more yards per attempt this season. So that's why the model has Kansas City putting up a little over their team total. So the prop value that I'm also like out of this is Marcus Valdez-Scantling over 17.5 receiving yards on DraftKings. You can get under at 20.5. Again, the big play that Philadelphia secondary has been allowing, combined with MVS, his receiving number of reception line is around 1.5 with juice on the over. But so that basically translates to around, at his 17 yards per reception, around 25 yards. So I kind of like that. This is really a bet about him getting 2 catches or even one catch. One normal catch can get him over this line.
Yeah, we had a similar situation with Bellinger for the Giants this past weekend on Sunday too. Same kind of thing. Just needed 2 or 3 targets to get that done. I do like that play there. I will say Taylor Swift will not be in attendance tonight, so that's bad news for Travis Kelce. Just keep that in mind because we all know how he plays when she's there. All right, Jake, any thoughts, anything you have on this game before we move on?
Yeah, I'm on a Justin Watson prop. I know he was bad to Steven a couple of weeks ago, and that's how he got injured. He had that big brace. We had him over. It was similar line, like 17.5 yards. They threw it to him, and he landed awkwardly, and that's how he got hurt. But the good news is he's swapped a brace for an arm sleeve, and he's also he ran a route on 71% of. Sorry, my dog is crying because he needs attention, but he ran around 71% of plays in their last game. So I think they're going to want to use him a lot this week.
Right.
Plus, he's a Penn grad, right?
So he's a Penn grad, yeah, Ivy League. So he's a smart guy. I don't know about
far tougher than you think. But the party school of the Ivy League is what Penn was. So, you know.
Yeah.
Seth is asking about some kicker props. Derek, I'm sure you have some opinions you can put in the chat as well. Do we have any value necessarily on either kicker? Do we think this is a game where we see some field goals?
I can check the model real quick.
I know we have Elliott projected for 1.2, so that would be like lean towards the under.
Yeah, we only have Elliott at 1.25, so there is, and it's juiced on the under. It's probably around minus 130 on the under, so we probably have nothing there. But we have Butker at 1.6, but he's minus 111 on the over. So probably in terms of the model value, nothing. But Jake might have
any of the 2 plays, I'd lean Butker over 1.5 if you want to play. But I'd probably lean Butker and stay off Elliott
because they haven't been great in the red zone. Kansas City's offense, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear. I like that, and I will also say, never claim the Eagles to be a first half team. Same with Georgia. It makes sense that all the Georgia players are now on the Eagles, and neither of them are first half team is what I meant. So I'm not sweating anything until after halftime is how I'm looking at this game. All right, continue to ask your questions about Monday Night Football in the chat. We're happy to answer all of them. Steven and I are quickly going to go over some rapid fire into the games for Week 12. We will start with Thanksgiving Day. 3 games to look at there. Let me get them to pull up 1 second here. Come on. Please hold.
Wow.
Here we go. All right. We'll start here. I'm having some technical difficulties. All right, here we go. Green Bay going to Detroit. Detroit laying 7.5 at home. Over under is 45.5. We're obviously pretty in line with odds makers here, but we do see some steam coming in on the over.
Yeah, last time I checked, I saw some 46.5s on the over under. So the spread hasn't changed, but if it were to tick to 7, then if you like Detroit, I could grab it because it's probably not going to stay there very long. Steam's on the over because the Chargers defense, they just made Jordan Love look like Aaron Rodgers. And Detroit always scores 30 or more at home, even when they struggle like off this past week. So I think that's where it is. Although I think that the if it goes to 46.5, it could come back down a little bit. It is a short week.
Mm-hmm. That is true. All right, let's move to San Francisco going to Seattle. We have San Francisco laying 7 on the road here. We got to watch out for Geno Smith, Kenneth Walker, all types of things we should probably wait on.
Yeah, I mean, the look ahead before yesterday, the line was only San Francisco -4. In the past, Pete Carroll's had some success against San Francisco. But with this line move, it looks like everyone assumes that it could be Drew Lock for Seattle. Even though Geno came in for that last drive and he managed to complete a few throws, he doesn't look quite right. And Drew Lock looked like Kenny Pickett, West Coast version. He was 2 for 6 for 3 yards and an interception, I believe. So this line will probably steam to even 9 if it's confirmed that it's Lock.
Okay, good to know there. Another team with a lot of value and steam, Dallas hosting the Commanders, laying 10 right now. We could see some steam on Dallas, but I can't help but notice the model has this as a 54-point game.
Yeah, we like Dallas. The steam's up to the line's up to -11 in some spots. I think it can go all the way to 13. The Dallas crushes every bad team, and they get a lot of pick sixes. I'm blanking on his name, but he has a record 4 pick sixes for Dallas. So, Washington's defense also made Tommy DeVito look like a Pro Bowler. So I like the over before you lose any more value there. It's already 48.5 in most sports books.
Okay. Any value on maybe taking Dallas's team total over, you think?
Yeah, I would think so. I don't know if it's posted yet.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about another team catching a lot of steam. We have Miami going to the Jets. Line opened up more around 6, now up to 8. You think this is just going to continue to steam?
Looks like it. It looks like it's all the way to 9.5. So Tim Boyle starting for Zach Wilson, which was just announced, didn't seem to bolster much confidence because consider that Boyle has, I think, 3 times as many interceptions as touchdowns. He's never had a game where he didn't have at least as many interceptions and touchdowns, and only one game where he had as many touchdowns as interceptions. So he's not an upgrade there. But I think the model is actually valuing the Jets because they have the defense. And the conditions in that area on Friday could be windy and colder, and and that doesn't necessarily bode well for Miami.
Mm-hmm. Yes, as a Florida resident right now who has now just moved back up to the Northeast, I'm feeling humbled by this weather as well. All right, let's move over to the Saints going to Atlanta. Practically a pick 'em right now, over under 41.5. We have some value on the Saints here.
Yeah, if we the line has been basically pick them to Atlanta -1. So I think that if you can get New Orleans at anything like +100, even -102, I would get it. I mean, we don't have strong value. We have a pick 'em. The line's going bouncing it off to -1. We like the over in this game because the Falcons defense is allowing 28 per game in the last 3. The Saints defense, which was supposed to be their strength, has been allowing 26 per game in the last 4. Saints are actually averaging 6 more on the road than at home this year. And the Falcons average 8 more at home than on the road. Desmond Ridder is probably back for Atlanta as a starting quarterback, but he's actually moved the ball fairly well at home.
Mm-hmm. Let's move over to a team just trying to figure it out now. The Steelers going to Cincinnati. 1-point favorites on the road. We make this more of a 3.5-point game in Pittsburgh's favor. This line is already low, but you predict that this will continue to go to the under?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Before, with Joe Burrow was healthy, the look-ahead line was Cincinnati -5.5 over under 41.5. So Burrow, in the odds makers' eyes, is worth right around a touchdown. The Sims actually have more than that, which is why we crushed the Bengals' chances of making the playoffs. The model line has Pittsburgh as -3.5 favorites and a 31 over under. So Cincinnati is not expected to be able to score more than say 10 points against the Steelers, and that's why we have the value we are. The line was 37.5 at one point, the over under, and so it keeps going down. And last time I checked, it might be on approaching Iowa levels. It's down to 34 most places.
Yes, this game is giving Iowa. And speaking of Iowa, I bet on their team total, I bet Jake's as well, over 16.5. They finished with 15 points, and they should have had at least 20, so that was nauseating. All right, moving on. Jacksonville going to Houston. Trevor Lawrence getting his feet under him a lot better this weekend.
Yeah, luckily I had the over on his passing yards. At one point he had 233 and the line was 233.5. And I thought that they were going to rest him because they were up big against Tennessee. But luckily Tennessee scored a touchdown to keep it within 20. The line steaming it to Jacksonville, if anything, it's up to -1.5 their side. I think the narratives are out that, okay, so Lawrence had this kind of breakout game passing wise, and CJ Stroud, even though they have won, has had multiple turnovers last 2 weeks. But the model actually still leans Houston because the point is Houston had 2 of its biggest wins despite the turnovers by Stroud because the defense is playing so much better. So, again, not a lot of value here, but if anything, I think Houston, if it steams up to 2.5 to Jacksonville, then I think that could be a good play, especially on the money line.
Okay. Another team you want to get before a key number, the Colts laying 1.5, steaming to 2 now. You want to get that before it gets to 3 if you like the Colts here. But does the model specifically like anything?
No, we have it at 2, Indianapolis. And I see a lot of 2.5s right now, so it's probably going to tick to -3 in most spots. So go ahead and move it. Although I thought Tampa Bay was actually had one of your more impressive 13-point losses against San Francisco, all things considered. And the Colts have allowed over 30 points a game in their 5 home games. So those narratives could push steam back to off of 3.
Mm-hmm. Let's move to an ugly game. The Patriots going to the Giants. The Giants not only laying 3.5 points, but also the steam is headed towards them, which just is really embarrassing to be on the other side of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be embarrassing for New England that the best quarterback in the game is Tommy DeVito. He got sacked 9 times and still, had some pretty good numbers, and luckily 38 passing yards to Bellinger. The line, the early look-ahead line before yesterday was Patriots -5.5. So that's how things have changed. The model has it at New England at -3. I'm seeing a lot of New England's -3s. So you want to act now on the Giants at +3.5 before it moves that key number.
Okay. Good stuff there. Let's go to a little rookie action here. The Panthers headed to Tennessee. Tennessee laying 3.5 points as well. Over under kind of low, 37. We like Tennessee here, a little value. We make this game.
Yeah, this is one of the rare occasions where the line moved against where the Sims had. And I think it's because people were actually impressed by Carolina. They're only down by 7 heading into the fourth quarter against Dallas before they lost that quarter 16-0, I believe. The problem here is Carolina, Tennessee's weakness is their pass defense. And Carolina simply doesn't have any option besides an underneath route to Adam Thielen to complete a pass. So they can't take advantage of Tennessee's weakness. And I know, again, this is not scientific reasoning, but Derrick Henry has been completely kind of shut down the last 3 weeks, and he's sort of due. Carolina's defense is much, much better at home than on the road. It doesn't travel. So I think that this case where Tennessee actually gets right.
Okay. Let's move quickly to the Rams going to Arizona. Nothing more classic than Stafford and Cooper Kupp both injured here. So we're seeing some slight steam on Arizona.
Yeah, I think it's just because of the injuries, and we're not sure. I mean, Kupp wanted to get back in, but I don't think he looked right. Stafford played through his injury, came back, and then there's I could see the guy going back up towards the Rams if Kyren Williams, who had that huge 20-carry, 158-yard game against Arizona before he went on the IR. I think he's supposed to be back. That was the latest word I heard. But, again, we'll have to see what everyone's status is.
Yeah, kind of like the Seahawks here, a little wait and see moment. Let's go to the Browns, headed to the Broncos. Some steam coming in on the Broncos as well. We have a slight lean on the over here, but what would make people like the Broncos over the Browns?
Not sure. I think people didn't need to look at the box score in this one, or you just have watched the game and you saw that the Denver run defense actually got rolled by Minnesota. Minnesota does not average a lot of yards per carry. And Josh Dobbs was a big part of their running game, but that's one thing Cleveland can do with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So Denver, they won yesterday because of Minnesota's turnovers, and self-inflicted wounds. Denver's run differential was -129 for the game. So Cleveland, if this comes down to a running game and defense and stopping the run, I still give it the edge to Cleveland, even without Deshaun.
Mm-hmm. Let's move to your Ravens, headed to LA. They have the Chargers now. A lot of steam coming in on Baltimore. We also like Baltimore. At what point would you probably hop off this spread?
Well, we actually have it right around where Baltimore is, -4, -4.5. What I'm hoping is that they don't fire Brandon Staley, because I could see the Chargers getting that fired coach bump like they did in Vegas. And so I hope he's fine, even though he looks shaky. And if, that his press conferences aren't that great, but if he's still there, then the narratives will come out that Baltimore is on a mini bye and obviously had a big win against Cincinnati. So even though they lost Mark Andrews, they have a lot of other injuries that have time to heal. Keenan Allen had a bad drop on the touchdown. That would have been a touchdown. Austin Eckler fumbled what probably should have been a goal, a game-winning touchdown. Joey Bosa was, last I saw him, he was carted off in tears. So I assume he's not going to be back anytime soon. So there's, I think that the narratives will push this to Baltimore -5, -5.5 if Brandon Staley's still the coach.
Okay, good stuff there. Another wait and see. Let's move to the last game we can talk about right now. Obviously, we have Monday Night Football to get through, but the Bears going to the Vikings. Vikings laying 3.5. We make this line closer to 7, and a lot of that overvalue and that spread value comes from Minnesota going over their team total.
Yeah, so Minnesota had been scoring a lot of points with Dobbs, and then they should have had, I say should have, but they should have had 26, 27 yesterday against Denver, if not for the fumble by Madison and some other situations. Chicago, most of all, their defense, they allow right around 30 points a game on the road. All last year, all this season, they allow just a lot more points on the road, and I think Minnesota's ready to take advantage of that. At the same time, Chicago did they did have some success offensively. Justin Fields looked pretty good until, the end of the game when, he couldn't muster a game-winning drive. But I think that the points are looking good for both sides, especially with Minnesota over the team total.
Okay. Yeah. Good stuff there. That might be something you want to act on now. There's no locker room better I like than Kirk Cousins and Josh Dobbs together. I would just love to see those conversations going on. Nonetheless, that's all we have right now for week 12 early lines. We'll obviously keep hitting some of those things we have to wait and see on. Steven, I'm giving you a break now. We're going to bring in Jake, talk some college basketball really quick. So again, keep asking your questions about those in the chat. Jake, let's get into it. 2 plays today. We will start with an under we have. We've been talking a lot about FSU football, but let's talk a little FSU basketball here.
Yeah, I mean, one sport the Gators have looked good at is basketball. We destroyed FSU. FSU, I think Leonard Hamilton is going to rip into them after their defensive performance against the Gators. UNLV, they got killed to Southern in their first week, in their first game of the season, and then they played better, but their offense still isn't that explosive. We have this at 147. I know Mike McClure's model has us at a 144. So we both like the under here. I like the under here. I'm all over this.
Okay. I like that. Let's go to UVA money line versus Wisconsin. We have this as an 8-point game right now, but probably a safer bet at the money line here.
Yeah, I like another team that's played the Gators is UVA. We played Tennessee versus Wisconsin money line, and we hit that earlier in the season. I just think UVA is ahead of Wisconsin so far this season. I've watched both of them play. I think UVA is the better team.
All right.
We have
Simple
a winning
enough.
6 or 7.
Yeah, I saw that there. All right, let's move into some stuff looking into this weekend. Got to get our Act Now plays in, some steam and some value we're looking at here. We'll start with Purdue laying 2.5 versus Indiana. We have this as a big spread, a lot of value you see here.
Yeah, so this line is implying that Hudson Card for Purdue is very questionable. He was out last week against Northwestern, but he was a game time scratch. So a week later, I'm hoping that he's good to go. But with Card playing, we have Purdue by 11. Without him, we have Purdue by still around 7 points. So you're getting good value anyways. I think this is going to move in Purdue's direction. And I think if Card plays, I think it's probably close at 5 or 6 points. It's at a rivalry game at home for Purdue. Home teams with a spread from 3 to -3, they're covering at a 54.5% rate this season. So home teams short spreads are doing really well this season. So I'd get it before it moves.
Okay. I will take that to note myself. Let's do one more game here. North Texas laying 3 versus UAB. You can find 3.5 already at some point, so certainly an Act Now play here.
Yeah, this is an act now. It's already on FanDuel at 3.5. Most major books, it's probably going to move to 3.5 pretty soon. So if you like North Texas, which the model does, I'd get them now. North Texas coming off a win against Tulsa. Their offense has been good. Their defense has not been good. This is going to be a shootout. He says you see this 73 projected points in the model. But I think North Texas is the better team, and I trust Chandler Rogers, their quarterback, a little more than Jacob Zeno, who's UAB's quarterback.
Okay. Good stuff there. Lots to unpack so far on this Monday. Lots to review and go back over. We'll hit some more tomorrow. Certainly some more college football lines, storylines to go over, some act now plays, some injuries to monitor in both the NFL and college football. Maybe we'll have some more NBA model value tomorrow when we have some more time. So with that, good luck with your bets tonight. Go Birds and have a great Monday.